So Ashley and I decided that it would be important for us to actually talk to someone directly who could tell us about Opal. And Lark came to our office, and we sat down, and we shared, and we went back and forth, and we talked about a lot of different things, and a lot of things that had been done or hadn't been done or were promised and not done, and we realized that there was an oversight. Things had not been done well, and we were going to fix that. And we looked at Lark, and we said, "Do you trust us?" And she said, I guess. I don't really know you two very well. And I said, well, we're kind of a team of doers here at the foundation. We kind of get stuff done. I said, I can't tell you it'll happen fast, but I can tell you it will happen. And at that point, Lark did something that I think right now in the world we don't get a lot of. She gave us grace. And those were the words we used. We said, she gave us grace and gave us a chance. So the reason we're all standing here today is because of that meeting and because you gave us a chance. So thank you for that. And at this point, what I would like to do is have Ashley Hust come up, who's our Major Gifts Officer at the Foundation, and talk to you a little bit about the journey. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy our program.
Got to get my notes straight here. Well, thank you for that, Mary. I'm just at the tail end of this story, but in working with Lark on this reception today, it was clear that going over some of the history of Yavapai College, of Opal's involvement, was going to be important. You may have noticed in one of the previous slides that at one point there was discussion about naming the college archives for Opal. She was, after all, the designated historian of the YC Foundation at one point in time. But the truth is, the archives have been slowly being digitized and taking up less and less physical space. If we had named the archives for Opal, her name would be on the internet and probably sit above a door to a small room that's kept under lock and key at all times. We didn't want to put Opal's name on a locked closet. That said, history was very important to Opal, so I want to share a bit of that with you today. When the story is told by the ones who were there about the founding of Yavapai College, the first name out of everyone's mouth to a person is Opal Allen. In the book commemorating the college's 50th anniversary, there are a few extra copies up here. Those are for the family, so Lark, I'll let you dole those out as you want, but feel free to peruse those after the program and maybe take one if Lark lets you. In this book, Opal Allen is the first name in print at the start of the historical timeline. As PTA District Board President in 1965, she was looking for an educational project that would benefit the community. She initially got the idea for a junior college from her brother-in-law, Dr. Richard A. Perry. Oh my word, it's misprinted in the 50th anniversary book. Sorry about that, guys. And he put together for her this list of reasons why it was time for a community college here. From there, Opal was off to the races and became the driving force behind formation of the steering committee, as well as a campaign within the community to pass a ballot measure to form a county-wide college district, which did pass in November of 1966. Our local newspaper, the Daily Courier, used the term ramrod for her untiring efforts. From inception of the idea to inaugural meeting of the Yavapai College Board was just 1 year. That was the work of Opal Allen. And her work continued for the college, advocating for the location, despite some opposition from within her own family on the east side of the county, as I've been told, to be here in Prescott on the site which was once part of Fort Whipple. The next year, she campaigned within the community once again for the necessary funding among county voters, and a $2.5 million bond was passed by a margin of just 107 votes in May of 1967. Once the college was built, Opal sent her children here. And I gotta Fun picture of the LDS Club from 1972. You might recognize a few of those faces. Opal continued to play a key role in supporting the institution by helping form the Yavapai College Foundation in 1971. As the foundation, we did celebrate our 50th anniversary 1 year ago. The foundation is a nonprofit organization that exists solely to support the mission and vision of Yavapai College through fundraising and promoting community awareness. And I certainly have personal thanks for this, because that's who I work for. Opal was dubbed the mother of Yavapai College by former college president, Dr. Joe Russo, who was here between 1974 and 1984, and the name stuck. This moniker was so important to her and so integral to the story of her life and the life of our community that it's etched into her headstone, which is up at the Arizona Pioneers Home Cemetery here in Prescott. Opal never went to college herself. She was awarded an honorary degree from Yavapai College in 2000, along with former district governing board member Charles Chuck Mayberry. This was meaningful to her and her family, of course, but it's interesting to note that while Opal's name is first in the story of the founding of Yavapai College, up to this point in time, her name was nowhere to be found at the 6 campuses and centers we now have across this county. Most of the men involved in the early formation of the college had been commemorated years ago with named buildings and prominent spaces on campus. This includes original district governing board member Roy Campbell, her cousin, for whom the original administration building, just to the east of us here, was named in 1972. Maxine Campbell. Glad you could make it today. It also includes her own brother, Boyd, who served as an Arizona State Senator for nearly 20 years, who was honored with the naming of the Boyd Tenney Library on the Prescott campus here in this building, right off the Founders Foyer, back in 2005. Boyd did sponsor the legislation as an Arizona State Senator to establish a community college here in Yavapai County, but it's understood, even among family, that the longevity and intensity of Opal's dedication to Yavapai College reasonably eclipsed her brother's. Of course, there's more to Opal than just Yavapai College. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing her, so I'll leave the personal recollections to later speakers today. And to all of you when you have a chance to socialize a bit more after the program. But I do want to note a few highlights. Opal was mother of 8 and grandmother of 45. She served as a Republican Party precinct committee person for 65 years. She served in all local levels of the Parent-Teacher Association, including Arizona State PTA president. She was active in all manner of community affairs and in her church, serving in teaching and leadership positions. In the rationale for naming that was submitted to the Yavapai College District Governing Board this past May, there was reference to an article published in the Daily Courier. Quote, "We come to you today to try and put right something the newspaper was trying to call attention to nearly 30 years ago when the school celebrated its 25th anniversary." To quote an article published in November of 1993, quote within a quote, "Although she was one of the college's founders, she has yet to receive the recognition she deserves. Recently, she was not even invited to the college's investiture, which brought back founding board members, faculty, and students. Hopefully, this article will be the beginning of recognition that is long overdue." The proposal for naming went on to ask the question, if recognition of Opal was overdue in 1993, what can we call it now? I'm sorry, it's choking me up. The president of Yavapai College, Dr. Lisa Ryan, with support of the Yavapai College Foundation, proposed naming the entrance hall of Building 19 the Opal Tenney Goodman Allen Founders Foyer. And we can't think of a better place. Building 19 houses the library named for her brother. It's one of the most publicly accessed spaces on any of our campuses. And we can't think of a better place to welcome students, visitors, and all manner of community members to Yavapai College than with the name and story of Opal Allen. It might be obvious with the celebration today that the district governing board did approve the proposal back in May. And at this time, I would like to introduce the man who actually submitted all that documentation and formally presented that proposal to the DGB, Mr. Rodney Jenkins, Vice President for the Division of Community Relations and Student Development.
Good afternoon. If we forgot about one pioneer, that's tragic. When Ashley and Mary began the research about understanding all of our building names, we came across information and said, we have to right this wrong. A true leader, Ashley got choked up because she did a lot of the research, and the more and more she found, the more calls I got saying we have to do this. And so when you look at the photos of all the guys up there with the shovels, she was probably there somewhere and cut out the photo, right? But we're here today to set the record straight. And it is truly my honor learning more and more about the family. And we spent time together earlier this year, and I said, we have to do this. And I reached out to our district governing board chair and our president, and they helped make it a priority. And it is befitting that we name the area where knowledge is carried, history lives. Here in the library foyer, it is no better place to really recognize the woman who shovel was too big to be in that picture. Before I recognize the family, I just want to also recognize some folks who are here with us. Barbara Bluster, former state representative, 99 and 2000. Barbara, where are you? Ken Bennett, he was a former Arizona Secretary of State and Speaker of the House. And I want to say in about 5 days and 4 hours, he'll be returning to our state legislature. And one of our stars here at Yavapai College, he couldn't stay, Selena Bliss, will be joining Ken in Arizona State House in about 5 days and 4 hours.
Rodney, you probably don't have on your list because
I'm getting there. Sit down, Ken. Sit.
I didn't want him to be looked over.
Thank you. And so he needs to be the Senate president as soon as possible. We'll work on that. Quan Nguyen, our state representative as well. Is that okay, Ken?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Before I introduce our board chair, and I hope I didn't miss any elected officials. If I did, raise your hand. I didn't. Great. At least they don't want to tell us they're elected officials. It's more than just the individual who creates history, who leaves a legacy. It's the families. And I want to recognize Opal's family, her children, grandchildren, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, everyone who is connected to Opal. Can you just stand for a second and let's applaud? Thank you. So, late 70s, 1967, the thought of a community college was born by its brainchild, Opal Allen. Today, we celebrate the fact that we are one of the most progressive community colleges in the country. When I sit with my colleagues from our other sister institutions in Arizona, and last week we were with all 1,100 community college presidents and trustees, and our president doesn't stop bragging about what we have accomplished and achieved on a daily basis to change lives, improving the quality of life and standard of living for the people we serve. That's what we do, and it was because of these pioneers like Opal that help us help people improve their quality of life and move to the next standard. We feel that in community colleges, the dream starts here. No matter where you end, you start here. And so with the help and blessing of the family of Opal and the Tenney family, we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. This is your library, this is your foyer, so if you want to ever come and camp out here, we won't charge you rent. But we truly appreciate the work of a true pioneer, a visionary. And it's sad that we didn't come across the information. I don't think Ashley was even born when we figured out the information. But we want to thank the family and thank Opal for such a pioneering thought process. Now I want to bring up the woman who we all love here in the college as our true leader. Deb McCaslin has been, she was probably, did you have one of those shovels, Deb? No. Okay. She was preparing to make havoc here in the college. And that's what she's been doing for about 30 years, 20 years.
I started in 1970.
So how many years, Deb? I went to public school. Okay, come on up. We're just having a conversation. The mic is yours.
All right. Thank you, Rodney. Yes, I've been involved with the college since January of 1970, either as a student, employee, then a secretary. Then I came back and I was director of student activities and was involved with many of you. And then I retired and now I'm on the board. This is my 8th year on the board. I'm happy to say I'm the chair for my 3rd year, and I was just reelected to another 8-year term. And one of the history things though they missed, Senator Tenney was one of our board members here too. He not only got the college started with the Enabling Act, but he was one of our board members too for a few years, at least 6 years. So I was involved with the Goodman Allen family in school. We all went to Lincoln School. And I remember going to a PTA meeting with my mother when Opal was talking and Dr. Perry, and they were saying, we need this for our kids. And I thought, okay, you know, but my mother caught on to it, and we walked in the neighborhood around, we lived on Pioneer Drive, to get signatures to put the issue on the ballot. So Yavapai College has been my life, and I wouldn't be the person I am today without the college. And the college wouldn't have been here without the foresight of Opal and generating all the support in our community to get the college to happen. So I know it has changed millions of people's lives through the years that we have been here, and it's all for the good. Whether they're here for one class or for a lifetime like me, it's been good. And I really appreciate that the college now is naming the foyer for Opal. And I'm so pleased that so many of the family and friends can be here to celebrate this with us. So thank you so much. And now I want to introduce Lark. Yes.
This wasn't part of my talk, but when I was in high school as a junior, I ran for student body vice president. The former student body vice president was Deb. So she was my campaign manager in high school, and then I came here and we followed the same pattern. So it didn't accomplish as much as she has in life, but we still love her. So thanks, Deb. Looking out at all of you beautiful people, I'm not intimidated at all. I've been impressed by the remarks of these folks from Yavapai College, Rodney, Mary, Deb, and Ashley. Especially Ashley, we have worked together on this project, and I think I speak for the family of our great appreciation for making an occasion where you can properly recognize our mother for her contributions to this beautiful community institution. So thank you so much, and I think the Founders Foyer name title is very catchy. So besides our mother being very involved in Yavapai College, as was stated before, some of us children were also. So I'd like to introduce, on a more personal basis, just a few of our siblings who are here. First, Bill Goodman. You want to raise your hand or stand up? He actually taught geography for a few semesters here at the college many years ago. And then we have a sister, April. Where are you? Right here on the front seat. She was actually the first class that Yavapai College as they opened their doors. So that you can tell how old she is. And after graduating from high school in 1971, I attended here as a freshman. I was part of one of the first intercollegiate women's basketball team, and also ran for Senate and served on the student body here. And I enjoyed every minute of my time. My brother Rock, who is not with us today, but his wife Deb and a couple of their adult children are over here. And he also, when he was a sophomore, he ran for Senate and served on the student council also. So he was a part of the scene. Then we have a sister, Linda Barney, who lives in St. George, Utah, who could not be here, but both of that brother and sister really wanted to be here. They're here in spirit. Opal Tenny Goodman Allen would be 109 years old today if she were still alive. She was born and raised in Arizona. She was a country girl whose father was a cattle rancher and ran a goat ranch. Her mother raised 10 children, and she was the fourth. She attended Prescott High School as a senior in 1930. She was chosen to be the valedictorian. She married our father, who was an Idaho farmer from a very small community, and they had 8 children, and I am number 8. Our father suffered an illness that medical professionals in the 50s did not have adequate treatments for. Sadly, he passed away at the untimely age of 48. My mother was suddenly thrust into widowhood with 7 unmarried children, ranging from ages 20 to 4. And she was faced with the reality of having to go to work full-time outside the home to provide a living for this big family. Even though Opal did not have the opportunity to go to college herself or even be trained in a specific skill, she was naturally endowed with abilities in leadership and interpersonal communication due to a charismatic personality. Her positive outlook on life and cheerful nature garnered her persuasive power in working with others. Her faith in God carried her through a threshold of trials and adversities. As the children were getting older, she felt it was critically important for them to have higher education. The little town we were living in Idaho did not have college availabilities. So she decided to move the family to Provo, Utah, so they could be close to Brigham Young University. After 3 years of being a single parent, she reconnected with an old family friend from Prescott, Arizona, by the name of Merle Allen. Merle was an established businessman in Prescott, and he was also a widow. His children were all grown and married at the time. One of them is here today, Merle Allen Jr. Can you stand, please, Merle? Let's give him a hand. And 2 of his 6 children, too. They're here, too, so we love you, too. Opal and Merle fell in love and were married. They joined their families together in moving us to Prescott in 1960, a place I had never heard before, but had a bright future for all of us. Opal did not hesitate to quickly get involved in volunteering in the community and political affairs, church and school activities and responsibilities. She held various positions and demonstrated initiative in care for humanity. In 1965, she was elected regional president of the PTA at the Arizona Congress of Parents and Teachers in Phoenix. One of her first assignments was she was tasked with coming up with an educational project. She realized her children were in similar circumstances as they previously were in Idaho, in that we lived in a small town without opportunities for higher education after high school. She was aware that most of the local high school graduates were leaving their homes and the community to live somewhere else to go to college. This concern, along with suggestions from her brother-in-law, Dr. Richard Perry, P-A-R-R-Y, formed the inspiration to move forward with the idea of establishing a local junior college for the welfare of all Prescott's youth and adult citizens. From this point on, Ashley has done a very good job to complete the story finishing up of the college. I was in junior high when all of this started. I remember our home being a buzz of meetings, phone calls, and unrecognizable people coming and going. There was excitement in the air. At that age, if the topic wasn't about boys, I just wasn't interested in listening. And I regret that now. It took 4 years of diligence for the project to come to fruition. There had been major obstacles to overcome, getting many people to agree, location, creating committees, boards, getting contributions, preparing legal documents, reports, financing, finding faculty, etc. Opal was never compensated monetarily for the hundreds of hours of service she rendered. This is our mother. She was visionary in how things could happen and get accomplished, even when the odds were overwhelming. She could have dropped the ball, quit from getting burned out. Oh, that's much better. Discouraged, fed up, hit a brick wall, felt rejected, unsupported, or lost confidence in this project, but she persevered because she was passionate about how this college could be a blessing in so many people's lives. I want to share this fabulous photo. This fabulous photo of our mother. She was 17 years old. This was the summer after she graduated from Prescott High School in 1926. I like my date better because she was only 16. Okay. She traveled with friends in a Model T Ford, and she went to the Grand Canyon. Sitting on the edge of this narrow precipice on the top of the canyon, thousands of feet above the Colorado River, she's imitating a bird before takeoff in this vast space. With her wings outstretched, the future holds majestic possibilities, at liberty to fly to wherever destiny calls, with the freedom to choose, but accepting the consequences of those choices. Notice there is no fencing, regulations, or policies of how close to the edge she can get. Unless, of course, there were signs there and she just ignored them. By igniting the idea of a community college, let me start that over. By igniting the idea of a community college, over 250,000 students have walked these halls in the past 54 years since the first day the classes were opened in September of 1969, which means for our mother Opal has indirectly influenced or impacted the lives of 250,000 individuals. In the modern vernacular, that is being an influencer. Opal was a person who avoided being praised or given recognition of her efforts and contributions. She was more interested in being a worker bee. Give the limelight to somebody else, she would often say. Well, today, Mother, we have given you recognition and appreciation for your work in founding Yavapai College, and you can't do anything about it. When I was in a meeting with the foundation staff, we were discussing the possible locations that would be appropriate to put her name on. The only building I saw that didn't have a name was the maintenance department building. So I'm so pleased that they didn't name that one after her, because I think this is a lovely venue and location, and perhaps the people can read about her and feel of her influence as they walk into the building. So we just want to thank you very much for honoring her in an appropriate way by participating in this tribute dedication today. So thank you to you guys. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. So at this point, we are encouraging, this is kind of, have you ever been to those funerals where they have open mic and the audience gets to express themselves? It's kind of like that now. So I believe a microphone has been prepared, and what we'd like to do is, if you have anything to say about Opal or her involvement in the college, or if you want to talk about me, or, you know. But just make sure you keep them brief so that everybody can have a chance. And I think we have to vacate this at what time? Are we good on time?
Before tomorrow.
Yes, my family gets a little over. Anyway, so go ahead and talk. Oh yes. One quick announcement. If you claim to be related to our family, we're going to meet at the Golden Corral in the conference room so we can have a chance to visit and eat. So, thank you.
I will be the first and hopefully make it a little bit brief. Hopefully I'll represent the grandchildren of Opal. 45 is a big number, and I was just a number. I was like number of 45. As were the rest of us. But we love Grandma Goody. She was a bright hope and inspiration to us, always whistling. She was a whistler. She was always doing chores. I don't think I ever saw her sit unless it was like we're reading scriptures. She was a very spiritual woman. God was always at the forefront of her mind, and she loved us all, regardless of her age, regardless of her the massive amount of noise that was always at her footsteps. Being the worker bee that she was also very educational. I remember Wendy and Robin were probably on this same trip. We were driving from somewhere back to Prescott, And she was in her educational pursuit, she very rarely sat, so she had to listen to the books on tape. And they were literally books on tape. They were no longer, podcasts, back in the probably early 80s perhaps. And it had been a long night of partying with all the cousins, and Grandma Goody was driving us back, and this particular tape, hopefully this won't be recorded, was on what a proper bowel movement should look like. That's the type of education detail that we were educated on as small children. To this day, we look at what we deposit and think of Grandma and hope that we are eating and chewing 35 times before we swallow for our digestive tracts. So we love Grandma Goody. She has always been an inspiration, and to this day, we love you, and we know that she is here with us right now. So thank you all to the Yavapai Foundation and for this amazing event.
I just want to thank all of the community that has been here to help celebrate our Mother's Day, and to the faculty and staff. I'm the oldest living child. I first came across this idea of a Yavapai College. I was teaching up in Canada, in the province of Alberta, and I thought, I just love Prescott weather. I just wonder if there was any way I could ever get out of Canada, because it snows a little bit up there, and it gets a little frosty at times. And I was just thinking about it. Lo and behold, my mother, you know how quiet she is, she hardly ever got involved in anything. Well, she called my house in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and she says, "Billy, if I build it, will you come?" I says, "Mom, what? She says, "Well, we're building a junior college, and we really need somebody to come down and take care of the students who are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." And I says, "Well, I'm your boy. What can you do?" Lo and behold, in 1971, we arrived here in Prescott and bought a beautiful new home for $19,000 at it was just amazing. The house is still standing, but it was just great. And so we built an Institute of Religion close to the entrance here on Sheldon Street. And I worked on the construction. The college was so gracious to us. And Debbie, I just want to thank you for all the help you gave me when I was a new teacher and you were a brand new student. She hasn't changed at all. She's just, you're just still here. Okay, is there any other spot that we can name? At any rate, I just want to thank her and all the other, well, most of them have passed away because I'm so old. But I just want to thank all of you for being here and the memories that I have. And when we were under construction and the building was under construction, the college allowed us to go on campus and meet on campus, which was a great blessing to us. And I did get to teach genealogy for the college and cultural geography and physical geography while I was living here. So that was a great opportunity to be a member of the faculty, even though it was part-time. So all of you faculty members and one of my great colleagues, Jim Hinton, would you please stand because you're my law enforcement guy. And Leslie, these people arrived in 1974, so they're one of the old pioneers. Are there any other faculty that used to teach here that we need to recognize, or have you all died? College board member, Steve Anderson. 7 years? Thank you. And I think you were instrumental in helping get things started over in Verde Valley too. Because there was just a little bit of a controversy whether the building should be in Camp Verde or in Verde Valley or in Prescott. But since I was born here, I had a right, So I'm just so grateful for everything, for you all being here. So thank you so much.
I'm not a relative of Opal. I'm sorry, I had surgery a couple of years ago of Opal, but she is doing something to this day, and I'm getting chills thinking about it. I taught Prescott history for 3.5 months forever, and now I teach for 6 weeks. This is a special place, and she came here when it was a really small town. And this town is the only place that has ever become a historical site because we became the program between the Confederacy and the Union when the Walker Party came in here and found gold and took an oath of allegiance in Santa Fe to say that they were for the Union. They lied through their teeth. And I teach people who are new to this area, who never had any of these experiences, that they're in a special place. And this is the lady who made it possible. Thank you.
I just have to say that Opal was a generation older than I am, but I felt she was one of my best friends, especially here. Now, I helped found the Arizona Republican Assembly, which was sort of a constitutional Republican group. And I've been very, very active in all this love of country. And Ken and I traveled together when we first ran for office. I was in one term, he's been in a lot of terms. But I just want to say, so when we left on our mission, I came to see, we moved back down to the valley after I was unelected up here, so I went back down there and have always been active in the freedom movement. And then before I left, came here, and Opal was in the Pioneer Home, what's it called? Pioneer Home. And she was just out of it. I mean, she was alive, but she was on a bed outside, and I just thought, oh, the day we got back from our mission, I called a brother of hers, I don't remember who it was, and I said, is Opal still alive? Her funeral is tomorrow. And I came up for the funeral. So that's very personal, and I'm sorry but to share it necessarily, but she was a precious soul. And I'm so grateful to have known her, and so grateful for you, Lark, for this presentation. This added much to my knowledge about her. Anyway, thank you.
I would be remiss not to say a few words. I do not remember not having Opal Allen and her then husband, Merle, as very important parts of the community. I didn't know Brother Goodman, Father Brother Goodman, but I was taught by this Brother Goodman. I was taught by this Brother Hinton. I took criminal justice here at Yavapai College. I was 10 years old, growing up in Prescott, and so by the time I was really watching, Yavapai College was already here, was suddenly here. I attended in 1978 for a year before my high school graduation and going on a mission. I got a scholarship from Joe Russo, or I got the President's Scholarship. It wasn't from Joe Russo, but and I can remember just feeling like this was the place to be. And I would go over to the Institute and take courses from Bill. When I, not too many years later, ran for city council, I had to go see Opal Allen. And she was probably one of a handful of people that helped a 24-year-old boy in Prescott get elected to the Prescott City Council when the average age of the Prescott City Council at that time was 73 years old. I think she got me more votes out of the community, but the Pioneers Home, later when I ran for the Senate, I couldn't believe when I would go up to the Pioneers' home to collect signatures to get my name on the ballot, she would walk me down the halls and into the room of every person there who she knew personally, and they knew her. And she would get them to sign the petition for Kenny Bennett. And then we go to the next room. And then I knew that a couple months later, I got all those votes somehow. Today we'd call it ballot harvesting. And it would probably be illegal. But back then it was called getting out the vote. And there was no one better at getting out the vote than Opal Allen. And so I just cannot imagine. And I look at the people in this room. Steve, who was on the board, was one of my scout leaders in the young men's program at the church, worked for our family for years.
I still remember stopping you from throwing snowballs.
Really? Oh my goodness. I don't ever remember such a thing. But anyway. My life has been so blessed in large part because of Yavapai College, and without Opal Allen, there would be no Yavapai College. And in so many now I did end up marrying a Tenny. It's not a close relative. I don't know if I'm invited to the dinner here in a few minutes or not. My Tenny wife ties into Opal's line and if you're LDS, you'll understand the importance of this name, Ammon Meshach Tenney. So my wife's probably great-great-grandfather is probably Opal's great-grandfather or something like that. So we're not a close relative, but whenever it's to my advantage, I do claim to be related to a Tenney. Thank you very much.
Okay, just one more. All right.
Okay, I am here to represent the oldest child. My mother, Jackie, she was the oldest. And I am the fifth, right? Fifth grandchild. You're the seventh? I don't know, somewhere in there. Seventh? Somewhere in there, okay. So my mother was the oldest. She learned her love of education from Grandma Goody. She was a teacher. Spent all her summers down here, growing up with Grandma. Granddaddy Allen, who wasn't our real grandfather, but boy, was he a great man. We flew over 3,000 miles to be here for this. Knowing that it was for Grandma, I had to be here. That's how special she was to us. Thank you.
Okay, just one. Just one.
It's hard to compete with my sister Lark, so I wasn't going to, but I was in the very first class, 1969, when Yavapai first opened. I had physics in the bottom of the Congregational Church on Gurley. I had music, choir, on the third floor of the old junior high that had been condemned, that is not there anymore, on Gurley. I had journalism and photography, and I was on the Rough Rider newspaper staff with Mr. Mikulevich, Mr. Mike at Fort Whipple, and we just went all over the city for our classes. 4 of my teachers were my high school teachers, were now my Yavapai College teachers, and the 3rd president of Yavapai College was Joe Russo, who was our principal at Prescott High School. And then I went back to Brigham Young University. Then I filled a mission for the LDS Church in South America, and I came back in 74 for a semester, and I took all Spanish classes so I could get an A. And for 2-3 years, Lark, Rock, and I, everywhere there was anything going on, we got to stand and ask people to sign the petition to start a community college in Prescott. So I'm very grateful for the experiences I had, and I love Prescott. Thank you.
So once again, thank you everybody for coming today and helping make this so special. There is plenty of food, so feel free to eat before you go to Golden Corral. There are some family items up here to peruse, and of course the book with a misspelling in it. But I also just want to invite you, the signage we put up for Opal is on the south entrance. It was covered up when you came in. We're going to uncover that so you can check it out. That's the entrance that most people take coming in from the parking lot. So we thought that would get the most attention and most eyeballs on it. So again, thank you for coming today.